What's up, Amy?
Hey, how are you?
I haven't seen you in forever. I'm so good.
I
How are you?
know.
You here?
Pretty good. I thought I had signed up for today. And then I was looking at the link and I was like, oh shoot, I signed up for like April 15th. So I quick snuck in at like 1:59 and got this link.
You got it. Awesome. I love it. Are you driving or are you someplace you can go camera on?
Uh, it just pulled up to my house.
Okay, awesome. Hey, hi. And Emma's here too. I love it. You're probably in the car. There she
I
is.
am
She's
in the
always in the
car.
car. It's all good. All right, guys, this is the first of my weekly webinar series. So I'm going to go ahead and do not disturb so nobody calls me because I always forget about that. And we're going to be interactive. Okay. I can talk all day, but I want to make sure I'm getting your questions answered and making sure you leave here with anything. So I'm curious right now, Emma, I know you're hosting opens pretty frequently. Amy, are you hosting opens?
I hardly ever do opens. That's why I was really curious about what you had to say.
Awesome. I love it. And you probably have a long list of reasons why you don't host open. So let me know like your maybe top couple of why you don't do it.
So I did when I first started out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I never got a lot of great leads, and I do a lot of work with Zillow. So most of my leads come from the Flex program. So I constantly have leads coming in, although one of my goals is to kind of move away from that because of the huge chunk of change they take from me every time I close a deal.
I hear that one.
So
I hear that one a lot.
looking more into open houses. I'm more open to it now.
Okay, awesome.
What's your
Well,
secret sauce?
it's not a secret. I'm going to share it with you here, but I think a lot of times we have a bunch of misconceptions about open houses, right? Open houses are for new agents. Open houses are a waste of time. Nobody comes to open houses. Everyone who comes through an open house has an agent already. I don't have any listings, so where am I going to host an open house? What else can you guys think about is like why you wouldn't? Did I get them all?
No, I would have to say like the time commitment, because it typically are on the weekends, and that's when most of my showings are. So I tend to do showings then instead of wanting to do an open for an hour and a half.
Got it. Love it. So good. Oh, that's another one is how long? I'm just writing these down. How long to host? Because we'll record this and we'll put it up so you guys can come back to it if you think of anything. So those are the most common ones that I hear. And man, I have been right there with you the entire time. When I first started, I loved to complain about how much I hated putting out open house signs, especially in bad weather. And all of that stuff. So I have sort of consistently hosted open houses throughout my real estate career, especially when I was brand new. I did a lot more of them also through Zillow. And that was really the first place that I met strangers. And I think something that we all love in real estate is when strangers call us up and they're like, I'd like to buy a house. And I think open houses are almost the only way that that happens. Yes, we have friends and family members who send us referrals, but I spend a lot of time just like you in the car. Actually, all of you are in the car. And at my house. And it's not happened to me yet that a buyer knocked on my car window and said, Hey there, you look like a real estate agent. Will you please sell me a house? And in fact, I have one time had someone walk up to my front door here and ask me if I was a real estate agent, but in general, that does not happen. So hosting open houses is a really great way for me to be open for business. So the first question of where do I get an open house if I don't have a listing? Or the first question is, where do I get an open house if I don't have a listing? So if you were going to go find an open house for this week, where would you look?
I would post on my brokerage page and just ask if anybody wanted me to hold an open
Totally.
for them. Yep.
Totally smart. That's a great place to do it. What I usually do, and we do that within our company too, if anyone has a listing that they want to host or a listing that they want to have opens and they're not hosting, I would always do that too. But one of the major reasons that I love to host open houses is because it allows me to control my work area. In the last couple of, man, I got a listing in Garrison right now. I'm not trying to be driving to Garrison. Somehow I ended up being a Prescott River Falls girl, and that's like an hour and 25 minutes one way. So for me, hosting opens is always a way that I can keep my business close to home. So when I'm going to look for a open house for the weekend, I will do this move. I will draw a little bubble that's real close to my house, and I will get my results. And then I go right in here and I add a column. There it is. Okay, public open house upcoming. Because I basically want to see who has an open house. And what you'll find is that most people don't. I gotta sort. Most people don't host open houses. So in my little 30-minute bubble, actually we got kind of a lot of them on here this weekend. I have hundreds of options of homes that I can host open houses. So I would skip this list because these agents are already hosting. And then I would just start right here at the top with the freshest listings. I would go down here, I would call up Jake. I would say, hey, Jake, I saw you got a great listing coming up in Chisago. I live in the area and I'm always trying to keep my business close to home. Would your sellers be open to me hosting an open house there? And in general, you have to call a lot of agents. I usually call and text before they'll say yes. You're gonna get a chunk of agents that will always tell you, my office doesn't allow that. This is against our brokerage policy. When in fact, usually it's not. It's like one of those things that no one has thought twice about because as you know, when you have a buyer, you can show any home. It's exactly the same for the listing. You're not representing the seller, you're just standing there basically showing it to agents who come through. Okay, so this is what I do. I do this every week on Monday, trying to find a house or two to host. And once I get it, I simply ask the agent, hey, can you please put this in the MLS for me? This is really important. If it doesn't end up in the MLS, nobody comes, even despite my incredible marketing system. So step one is always finding an open house to host. I host on average 1 to 2 open houses a week. I never try to presume weather, time, location, whatever. I always book them at a time that is convenient for me. So sometimes that's Tuesday from 1 to 2. Sometimes it's Friday from 4 to 6. I don't think there's like a required amount of time. I have seen agents actually set up 15-minute open houses, and I don't think there is anything wrong with that. So you never want to, like this weekend, I'm hosting, and the sellers are like, well, it's Easter and there's going to be a blizzard. I don't care. I'm going to be there because the numbers shake out in the wash. And what we're really after here is consistency. So let me show you kind of what the numbers look like if I can figure out how to share my screen appropriately. This is not, okay, let's go here, desktop one. Are we gonna get the infinity thing? Okay, can you see this one? So this is my personal open house activity last year. I hosted 127 open houses. 198 people attended, 137 of them gave me their phone number. And so on average, one person came to every open house that I hosted. And you know you're going to have those days where it's a zero, let's go back a little further so we get somewhere on here. It's a zero, right? But sometimes you're going to get a 7, sometimes you're going to get a 3. And I think when you have good data, it's really easy to get over that. I feel like open houses don't work, or I feel like nobody came and I didn't convert. So step one is always make sure you're keeping good data to make sure you know who's coming to your open houses and to be able to actually capture those leads. I'm going to stop talking and take a drink. If anyone has questions, please hop in right now.
Are you doing a sign-in sheet when people come in,
Yes,
or are you doing a QR code?
that's exactly where I was going. So this weekend I was out showing with buyers and we saw 2 homes that had open houses going during our showings. And what I saw happening there were agents sitting at the kitchen island, drinking a nice coffee, checking their email. Okay. And if this is what you do when you're in an open house, you will never sell a house in an open house, ever. It will not happen. You didn't engage with anyone, you didn't ask a question, you weren't friendly. Nobody is ever going to call you because you gave them your business card. It doesn't work like that. I don't care how much you hope it does, it will never happen. So when you're actually in the open house, you have to make sure that you're engaging with people. Back in the day, in the olden days, before we had big fancy tech, I used to have a piece of paper and it was, it had some funny little, do you think this house is a smoking deal? Or, some funny little language on it. And it was all branded and cutesy. But what I found with that was I just created more work for myself and people were liars. So buyers would put in incorrect info. I couldn't read their handwriting. They wouldn't fill in all the blanks. And I really couldn't do anything with that. Plus, then I had a data entry job next week to go in here and be like, okay, let me add this person to my CRM and call them and follow up and send them some stuff. Nowadays, we use Brivity, and Brivity has an open house app. So I have it on my iPad pulled up. Whenever I'm in an open house, I simply hand the iPad to the person and say, hey, if you wouldn't mind signing in, then we'll come on in and see the house. Or as people are done, they're putting their shoes on, I'm, chit-chatting them up in the open house. I'll be like, the sellers have asked me to gather everyone's contact information, so if you wouldn't mind signing in. And honestly, dude, like 99% of people sign in. And because we're programmed now to just like start putting our information into a device, people just put their information into a device. Like I don't have any issues. I think things like QR codes can be really helpful, but I also think it gives people a pass to be like, sure, yeah, I beeped your QR code. I'll do that later, right? They're not required to do it. So in general, I always hand over my iPad and that gives me, first of all, this data. Now I don't have to go, log my food. How much chicken did I eat? How much, whatever. It's just automatically done. And the cool thing about this is the app automatically puts people on listing alerts for homes in the area that are similar. So they're getting listings and they're coming back and landing on my website. It also will collect their address if they provide it. It asks them what their home is worth, and it will then put them on a market report that shows like a little, AI home value thing. And I can now see when people are looking at that. So after I'm done with my open houses, every single week, I'm able to follow up with these people. And this is how I convert. So if you look at this and say, okay, Amy, you hosted 127 open houses last year. And let's just say, I'm going to do a little math right now. So I'm getting a calculator out. Let's just say those were 2 hours each. I don't think they all were. I worked 254 hours, let's just say, last year. How many houses do you think I sold in those 254 hours? Would you guess? Anybody? Great, I'll give away the answer. Okay, last year I sold and closed 10 homes from those open houses and pended two. And pended two. And those two that are pending for this year, one's like a 980,000 and one is 1,000,001. So like, am I cool to wait for those to pend out? Absolutely. Okay, so then when we break it down into what's your hourly rate in those, if I'm not including those two that are pending for this year, I'm at like $843 an hour. If you were gonna make 840, if you're gonna go make $420 an hour on Saturday, would you go show up and host an open house?
Yeah.
You would. And I don't remember exactly what the number is. If I include those other two pendings, it's like 1,300 per open house is what I make. Is that a good use of your time?
Yeah.
100%. So my question for you is why do open houses work now when they didn't used to work? What do you think the one big factor is that has changed? No guesses. It's the NAR settlement. And this is something that I love to remind myself of whenever something is happening in the world and people are freaking out about the world's ending. I'm not going to do my job. The robots are taking over. At the end of the day, yes, there might be some shakeup, but what has turned into a huge blessing with the NAR settlement is now buyers have to be repped before they go looking for houses. And as we all know, buyers don't really like real estate agents and they don't really trust real estate agents. And they're not like, hey, I want to see a house. Will you please give me a contract and can I please pay you 3% for you to show me houses and open doors? No, they will not. So the number of unrepresented buyers who come through open houses since the NAR settlement is dramatically higher. Yes, you're going to get people coming through who don't have agents or I'm sorry, who do have agents, but in general, you will always get more people who don't have agents these days. The other reason that I love hosting open houses and get more of them is I'm dual licensed in Minnesota and Wisconsin. And most of the people who buy houses in Wisconsin are Minnesotans. And so they may very well have a Minnesota agent that they love, but many Minnesota agents are not dual licensed. And so now I'm able to take the buy side and share a referral fee. So because all these agents are out there refusing to sign contracts, being afraid to sign contracts, not wanting to talk to real estate agents, and actually not knowing how to get ready, I'm able to take and convert those people in from open houses. Does anyone have any questions right now?
No, but I will say that's a really interesting point. I mean, I take new buyers through all the time with a touring agreement. So the NAR settlement actually did never even cross my mind as far as open houses, because I'm constantly going out initially with a touring agreement, making
Okay.
sure that we're a good fit for each other because we don't necessarily want to always work with the people that
To,
you know call
I
in
totally
and vice
agree with you on
versa.
that.
But yeah, I had never even considered that with an open house
Yeah.
that you would be seeing more people.
Absolutely. And my personal decision has been that I will not do a touring agreement. I'm not taking you out or putting you in my car until we've sat down and had a buyer consult and gotten to know each other. And I used to do that all the time because when I first got into the business, I did a lot of Zillow leads like you have now.
Yeah.
And, as Zillow goes, is I want to see this house right now. So you kind of
Yeah.
drive over there and you show them the house. And I had a huge fallout. I was like, man, I'm driving all over town meeting these people. And why is it that if I can get someone to meet me for coffee for 30 minutes, I can close them? But if I try to hustle through a buyer consult while I'm in a house with them, they don't buy or they're not ready or the house gets
Mhm.
sold before. So I've transitioned to only the buyer consult model before I put anyone into a representation agreement. We have sat down, we've done a buyer consult, we've talked about everything, we've gotten them pre-approved. And now when I go out and show houses, I know that I'm going to close them. So I actually spend
Mhm.
dramatically less time in the car than I ever have before. And that has freed me up to do things like host open houses. The other thing that is great
Yeah.
about open houses is that it's one to many, right? Where a buyer is a one to one. On average, you might show a buyer 30 to 60 houses before they get one, right? They might write 5, 6, 7 offers these days before they get one. But if I have an open house, we get to know each other, we know we like each other, we might be able to transact in a shorter amount of time. And there's a
Mhm.
perfect example here. One of the things I love about open houses is you can get a buyer today and a listing tomorrow. So when I'm hosting an open house, buyers come in, right? I capture them and I follow up with them. This just happened to me the other day where I was hosting an open house. I hosted it at the same property, not my listing, 2 times, and followed up with a couple. In fact, they were like, I would like to write an offer on this house. And I was like, super, that's great. That's great. Let's go. We did a buyer consult over the phone. They were about to travel. They were like, we need a week here. We're not trying to put our house on the market while we're on vacation. So they came back, home was still available. They were like, yep, let's go. We wrote an offer contingent on sale of their house. They got their offer accepted. Then 3 days later, we put their house on the market. That home is not sold. So, me hosting two open houses resulted in two closings in the month of April. I think any of us would like that. And that's how you get business now. We know in this business, it's always a blend of who's ready now, who's ready in 2 months, who's ready in 6 months, and who's ready next year, and how do I make sure I stay in touch with these people as we're going on. And hosting open houses is the way to do that. So here's the model for making sure that people, as many people as possible, come to your open house. We said on Monday, you're going to go find some open houses. You're going to make sure those get published in the MLS. And then we're going to start to prospect for those open houses. So when we do prospecting, we want to make sure we're talking to neighbors in the area and people who live within a few miles, because a lot of times buyers are already living in the area. And those people who live close to that home, whether it's your listing or someone else's, may be your future sellers and buyers. So you're demonstrating your value to them as an agent, because not many real estate agents will call you up and say, hey, I'm hosting an open house at your neighbor's house this weekend. You want to come on over and check it out? Did you guys see your neighbor's houses for sale? Have you wondered what your home is worth, right? Most agents won't do that. So when you get someone on the phone, they're interviewing you before they even know they're ready to sell their home. Okay? So we always want to call neighbors. I am a fair weather door knocker. I'll be honest with you. I'm not doing it if it's windy. I'm not doing it if it's sub-zero, but if it's a nice day, I can promise you I'm going trick-or-treating for buyers and sellers before my open houses. So I always like to try to get at least a couple on either side to make sure people are seeing them. And we always like to get posts out on social media at least a couple days before the open house, not too far in advance because people will forget about it, but you want to make sure you're getting the word out on socials. Once we've done our prospecting for the other two things we like to do for prospecting in the open house is within our database, who do we have that matches for the house? So we have a way to click a listing and see what buyers we have. We're going to call and email those buyers. And if it is our listing, we're going to get at the reverse prospecting list for agents. Agents freaking hate this. And I think it's really funny. But if you call up a real estate agent and you say, hey, I have a buyer or I have a listing and you've got a buyer, you'd be surprised how many of them tell you they are not interested, which is sort of a good indicator that they should not interested their way out of the business. Some agents will be curious or surprised, and now you have an opportunity to teach them, hey, here's how uh, you go figure out who your buyer is, right? Here's this little number, type it in here, and you can educate them. And most agents will really thank you for that. And I think that's a nice way to build relationships within our business because you never know who's got what. When I get an agent on the line, I will always ask them if they need anything from me as well. And you'd be surprised how many times someone has a buyer for something you got coming or they got something you don't know about you need simply because you asked them. So a lot of people think we shouldn't be buds with agents, but you absolutely should. This is also a great opportunity for you to ask for open houses with anybody else, right? When you're like, you got a buyer for my listing, you can be like, hey, also, I host open houses every week. If you ever have a listing you need held open, please think of me. I'd love to host for you. Okay. So before our open house, we always want to make sure that we're doing prospecting. Then when we are in the open house, we got to make sure we're talking to people. Okay. I have seen so many things that I think are just like, okay, here's the first one I hate. Buyers come in, real estate agent traps them in the doorway. Okay. Hey guys, how's it going? Small talks them to death right here in the doorway or it gets too personal. This is like not a read the room thing, okay? So always be welcoming, step back and sort of lead them with your body into the home. Make sure lights are on, toilet seats are down, blinds are open. It is shocking to me still to this day to go into an open house and see seats up and lights off. What are you doing, real estate agents? Your job's not that hard, okay? Seats down, lights up. Welcome the people in. Encourage them to take a look around. Ask them if they have any questions, right? Basic human stuff, but sometimes we don't know how to do this because we're so used to like only talking with our thumbs, okay? Then there's a really good way that we can engage people in our open houses that gets them talking. Because what do a lot of people say when they come into an open house? Shauna, I know you've heard this one. What do they say to you?
I'm just browsing.
I'm
I'm
just browsing. I'm not serious, right? And what does this mean when people say that to you?
that they don't want to they don't want to interact with you and don't want to have a conversation.
I don't trust you. I don't
Mhm.
want to talk to you. I'm a closed book. Just let me take what you got. Okay. And what's the thing that I want to think about? It's you can have, why buy the cow if you can have the milk for free, right? Okay. This is not what we want to do in an open house. We want people to come in and we want to welcome them into the home, but we're providing a service for them right now. We are allowing them to see what their neighbor's basement looks like. Okay. We are allowing them to take pictures of their kitchen so they can remodel theirs the same way. And what does it cost for this? What's the fee that I'm going to charge you to come to my open house?
Something.
It's your phone number. I want your phone number. Okay. You're going to come in here. I'm taking my time to host this open. I want to know who you are. And I don't want to get there by just being like, hey, hi, welcome in. Give me your phone number. Okay. I'm not a creep. We also don't want to be like, where do you live? Even though you guys know exactly where everyone lives, what they owe on their house, how much they paid for it, right? The general population thinks you're a creep when you tell them you know where they live. So we want to be really friendly. And this is a script that I use when I'm in an open house. It goes something like this. Hey, Amy, thanks for coming in. Nice to see ya. A lot of times when I'm hosting open houses, the people who come in either are looking to buy a home or they're wondering what their house is worth. Which one are you? And the reason that works is because it gives them an either or, right? I have had my son always ask me, Mom, which one of these do you like? Or what color is your, right? And I'm like, I'm going to be needing multiple choice here, man. I cannot think of five different cars to pick that which one's my favorite. When I give them a this or a that, I make it easy for them to answer. And for me, I've given them options in which I can help them on either of them, right? If I'm like, are you coming in here so you can get ideas for how to finish your basement? Am I a basement remodeler? No, I'm not. I don't actually care to help you with that. I probably can, but I don't want to. I want to help you sell your home or I want to help you buy a house. And now they can self-identify which of them they are. Okay. And we've started the conversation. We've been looking for a while. We've been in this neighborhood forever. We're not moving, right? And that gives me the next breadcrumb that will lead me down the rail. Now, the other thing that I want to identify when I am meeting with buyers or sellers in an open house is if they have an agent. But if I go forward and ask someone, "Hey, are you working with a real estate agent?" What are they going to say to me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, they are, because they know that that will shut me up and get me off their case. So rather, I'm going to ask them if anyone's taken the time to sit down with them and talk through the process of buying a home. Do you have a strategy in place for selling your home and making the purchase happen at the same time? Because that's going to tell me if they're BSing me or not. Okay, so I want to make sure that I'm establishing if they're a buyer, a seller, or both, and if they're working with an agent, but I want to make sure I'm crafting my language in a way that I don't just say, are you buying a house and do you have an agent? We are getting to the top of the hour here, so or the top of our time here. It's not top of an hour. I want to make sure we get the last most important piece, which is the follow-up. Okay, so after our open houses are done, we close it out within our tech, and it will give us a nice little, here's who came, here's their phone number, here's their email. It's already done our first follow-up with them, and it will repeat this follow-up on some kind of a rhythm that we can dictate within the app. But what really works is the personal, right? Nobody's like, oh, yeah, I saw your ad. Let me go buy a house. Like they're not, right? We need to make a personal connection with these people. So for me, on Monday is always my open house follow-up day after I've secured my next open house. So I'm going to call them up on Monday and I'm going to be like, hey, Shauna, it's Amy from the open house. Just calling you to see if you saw some other houses that weekend. Do you have any more questions about this one? Are you guys still thinking about this? Right? I want to just open the conversation very open-endedly and let them talk. My goal of this conversation is not necessarily to sell them that house. Maybe if they liked it, I'd love to sell it to them. But in general, my goal is to get them to a buyer consult or a listing consult. So I'm now going to work into that sequence. And this, guys, is literally it. It's a very simple system, but when you repeat it over and over again, it builds. And you will always find people today who want to buy a house, people today who want to buy a house next year, people today who are just getting started and want to think, right? And this is how we fill our
Mhm.
pipeline with only open houses. I promise you, you can sell. I would honestly say, I think if you really got after it, you could sell 15 to 25 houses a year with this. I easily did 10 last year. I'm on track for more than that this year. This has moved from sphere and referral to my primary lead source. So if you guys have any questions about how this works or our tech or whatever, give me a call, shoot me a text. You know how to get a hold of me. I'm here to help.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Does anyone have any questions before
Yeah.
we hop off?
I have one question. So you're doing open houses for realtors and different brokerages.
Mhm.
You're setting up your branded signs, though?
Yep.
Okay.
Nobody cares about your
Yeah.
brokerage.
Okay.
Does anyone care who your broker is?
No.
No, I've never done an open for somebody outside of my own brokerage, so it's curious.
Mm-hmm. Amy, has anyone ever called you up and been like, Amy, I really love the company that you work with, so I'm definitely going to work with you because of your brokerage?
No,
Never. Nobody cares. Nobody understands
no.
it. Only real estate agents know about brokerages. And that's why I said when you're looking for them, a certain chunk are just always going to say no to you because they have this kind of old school mentality. But new school real estate is collaborative, not competitive.
Yeah,
We don't care, dude. We just want to sell the house. You're going to let 5 people come in? Heck yeah. I've had 0 showings. That's it.
yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions? Great. Well, thanks for coming, guys. It was really awesome to see you here. Amy, I'm not sure if you know about we do an in-person mastermind every single month, first Thursday of the month. So the next one is coming up this week, and we are doing back to basics, real estate agent back
All
to
right.
basics. It's at 10 a.m. in White Bear Lake. If you want the details, let me know, and I will
Yeah,
get you
send
them.
them to me.
I will. Awesome.
All right.
See you guys later. Have a good
Perfect. All
day.
right. See ya.